that happen? I've done got
I'll
lost.
send reschedule.
Yeah, me too. I never answered because I missed some of the
But I will reschedule.
Smells mighty cinnamon.
When you take my chair.
You wasn't sitting in?
That's what I
Did
figured.
you make them low riders?
I couldn't get to stand up. I figured you was taller than I was.
Oh, I'm short.
Ooh, we look clear. Real time.
Fred, are you ready?
Yes, sir. We're good.
Okay, we got about a minute.
I
Mine.
went off the-
I go off my phone or either my,
Yeah, I got 559.
me too.
all right, Fred, turn it on. I'd like to call to order the Jackson County Board of County Commissioners meeting for August the 24th, 2021. At this time, please stand. Commissioner Hill is going to do a prayer and then we'll do the pledge.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, once again, we always come to you with humble hearts. Lord, we ask you for your guidance and knowledge as forward as we lead our citizens. Protect our citizens during this time of trial. Lord, we ask it all in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Ms. Willan,
There
Is there
are
any-
2 additions to the agenda under section 2, number 9. Yeah, with board approval of final pay application and closeout of County Road 167. And number 10, which is a request for board discussion of Jackson County legislative priorities.
okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Hill,
Second.
second by Commissioner Pate to approve the agenda. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0. Okay. Next thing, Ms. Jordan.
Okay, this is the MOU with the state of Florida and an adopting resolution related to the opioid litigation. This is basically a class action that we're in. We're not a big enough county to litigate this on our own, so we're signing an MOU with the state of Florida to cooperate with their negotiating and kind of handling of our claim. We have Mr. Cliff Higby. He should be online if y'all have any questions about this, but this is the standard MOU that all the counties that are cooperating with us are signing.
I do have a question. Didn't we enter into some sort of an agreement with a law firm
It's several years.
2-3 years ago?
That's his firm.
That's the same firm.
Okay, so this is just.
How did it wind up? That's the state versus,
So the pharmaceutical manufacturer went into bankruptcy. And so now the claims have to be negotiated through that. And there are multiple states have filed the same kind of claims against the manufacturer, and they've all been kind of consolidated within that bankruptcy. This is multi-state, multi-district.
Michelle, I'm happy. I'm hope you all can hear me. I'm happy to fill in and answer any questions. I could answer the question of the commissioner.
what's your name?
Hi, commissioners. My name is Cliff Higby. I'm with Bryant, Higby and Barr in
Okay.
Panama City. We're co-counsel along with the Levin Papantonio firm and a consortium of firms that represented Jackson County in this matter. And what's before you this evening is what's called a memorandum of understanding, and it has been negotiated between the state of Florida and Ashley Moody and our state government and all of the cities and counties in Florida, which will be participating, hopefully, in a global settlement with, this is just between the cities and counties and the three big distributors, Cardinal Healthcare, they're all listed in here, and the three big distributors, as well as Johnson & Johnson. So there's 4 defendants, and they're going to be paying a large sum of money to all of the states and counties throughout the country. Each state is going through this process and figuring out what the allocation is going to be between the state and the local counties and cities and municipalities. This agreement between the state of Florida and all of the cities and counties have been negotiated for well over a year or two, and a lot of work has gone into it. And we have to reach a critical mass. I'll tell you, over 2/3 of the cities and counties in Florida have already approved this. We are not agreeing on any specific or set amount of money here. And this is not an opt-in or opt-out agreement. It's just purely to agree upon the allocation that has been decided by the state. I will tell you all candidly, and our firm, we also represent Bay County and Santa Rosa County and Holmes County, and the city of Panama City. And, we're a little, the folks down here in Bay County, we're a little bit disappointed with the proposed allocation. Tommy Ford, our sheriff, is on the statewide opioid task force. But Ashley Moody and the state and the governor and the Speaker of the House were fairly strident in making sure that they control the settlement funds. The funds are going to be going for abatement of the opioid crisis. That means treatment and what have you. Nobody's going to be able to build a new jail or anything like that with these funds. The bottom line on all of this is, commissioners, that the Jackson County is going to be getting money. We don't know how much. The percentage that will come directly to the county will be 15% of the total settlement funds. In years 1 through 6, 40% of the money that will be coming to the region of Northwest Florida will be administered through what are called qualified entities, which in the case of Jackson County and Bay County is, I believe, Big Bend Healthcare. And it will be administered through those organizations in conjunction, hopefully, with law enforcement, et cetera, to help abate the opioid crisis. But again, this is not an agreement on a specific or set amount of money. It's just to agree that Jackson County will do what Bay County has done, Panama City has done, Santa Rosa County has done. All of your fellow surrounding counties have agreed to this MOU with the state of Florida, again, largely negotiated by Ashley Moody, our Attorney General, in her office.
I have one question.
Sure.
We can't build a jail. What about a drug treatment center? Can we rehabilitate one?
Well, the monies will be going to drug treatment.
Okay.
For sure. Absolutely. They're going to be limited to that. In fact, and again, it will be administered. The county will have discretion over the monies that it receives. There will be limitations on what you can do with the money, but I don't think there's going to be a lot of bricks and mortar spending here for jails and things like that. It's going to be on abatement, Narcan, things that are going to be used to immediately treat the opioid crisis.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Well, I have a
Okay.
motion by Commissioner Hill, a second by Commissioner Pate. Any more questions?
I got one quick one. Mr. Higby, what are they, if they're bankrupt or in bankruptcy, are they freezing their assets for the litigation fees and also the amount of money to be awarded? How's
Yeah,
that?
there are, and again, I want the commission to understand, we are hopeful that this initial settlement with the 4 distributors, this is only one piece of the puzzle. There's still litigation pending against retailers, retail pharmacies, CVS, Walgreens, Walmart, many other entities who we believe will ultimately be contributing towards this settlement fund, which will increase the amount of money that ultimately comes to the Jackson counties of the world. There are a few entities, you've probably heard of the company called Purdue Pharma. They're a manufacturer of the opioids. They filed for bankruptcy, and their bankruptcies are going through the approval process. And yes, I can assure you, their assets are being marshaled in a way that will provide a maximum payout and additional monies towards this settlement.
Okay, very good.
Got a question. I see Mr. Dean in the audience. Has the city of Marianna agreed to join in this class action suit at this time?
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing this, Commissioner.
That's okay. I just, we had City Manager Jim Dean in the audience. I was asking him if the city of Marianna had agreed at this time to participate in this class action suit.
Okay.
He indicated that they have not.
Okay. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, sir.
Gentlemen,
Fine.
thank you. Have a good meeting. I'm going to check out, Michelle. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Kate Stangley. Ms. Willan.
Hunter, do you know if this individual? Okay.
Do we have anyone online from Nelson, Mullins, Riley, Scarborough?
This is Kate Stengel. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Kate Stengel, and I am with Nelson Mullins. We're a law firm here in Orlando, and we represent the Florida Development Finance Corporation. The corporation is an entity that was created by the Florida legislature for the purpose of providing conduit bond financing, both tax exempt and taxable, to companies who are promoting economic development throughout the state. Recently, the corporation was approached by Waste Management with a proposal to finance certain improvements that the company would like to make to its facilities located throughout the state, including Jackson County, and to finance certain acquisitions of capital assets and equipment. In order for the corporation to provide conduit bond financing, it must enter into an interlocal agreement with the jurisdiction where the projects are located. So that is the reason for our request this evening. We have submitted a proposed interlocal agreement for your consideration. It is very narrowly drafted. If approved, it would authorize the corporation to exercise its corporate powers for projects that are located within your county. So this would include these potential waste management project, as well as maybe other projects that may be in need of this type of financing from time to time. I also want to point out that the proposed interlocal agreement provides that there would be no liability assumed by the county for any of FDFC's activities, and you would certainly not have any responsibility or obligations or liability with respect to any bonds or notes that may be issued.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Michelle, have you reviewed this
I have,
and you approve it?
I do. They
Okay.
just essentially need your approval to operate within your jurisdiction.
Yeah. Mr. Donifro, you have a
Yeah, just,
question?
this won't have any adverse impact on our ability to issue any other type of revenue type bonds, would it?
No, it won't affect yours at all.
And do we know what type of projects they're planning on doing? I mean,
It's listed in the,
I didn't see it.
there's a
Isn't it that
site
evaporator?
improvement, acquisition of.
What page is it?
Land?
Page.
On page 14. Acquisition of solid waste disposal trucks and support vehicles, acquisition of solid waste disposal containers and related equipment, site improvements, and building construction, and acquisition of other equipment and assets necessary to support those improvements.
Didn't she say that, help in economic development?
Yes.
How does this help economic development?
Well,
Well,
helps
if
the
we don't
company
haul
to
off our
grow.
trash, nobody's gonna come here.
Well, that
It ain't
too.
only our
She's still,
trash.
she's still online.
Yeah, that's
I mean, I caught that, but I was just wondering,
I'll make the motion. Wednesday.
pardon.
I'll make the motion. Wednesday.
I said,
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Hill, a second by Commissioner McKinney. Any more questions? Clint, you want your question answered?
yes, I do. How would this, affect our economic development?
Well, they are contemplating up to a maximum of $13 million in improvements that they are considering to be made to their facilities and purchasing of equipment. So this helps the company with their cash flow. It results in expenditures for equipment, potential construction for their site, and the Florida Development Finance Corporation believes that financings of this nature do encourage economic development by keeping companies like Waste Management competitive, efficient, and continuing to be in business.
You think that it will improve their service to Jackson County? Help them improve their service to Jackson County, generally speaking?
I don't represent Waste Management personally, but that is often one of the main reasons for these types of improvements, so that they can keep pace with the services that they're trying to provide to the community.
Oh, any more questions? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Oh, Mr. Ken Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Ken Jones. I'm the coordinator for the Riparian County Stakeholder Coalition. I'm here to discuss our $5,000 budget request and answer any questions about what we've been doing and what we're going to be doing over the next year. Chad Taylor is still our chairman. He couldn't make it today. He's immunocompromised, I guess that's the word. But he sends his regrets, and he has just a one-page statement.
Just the one page?
Just the one for Chad, one page is an amazing achievement. So like I said, we're requesting $5,000, the same as we've requested over about the last 10 years. That matches $5,000 from the other 5 counties within the Apalachicola basin. We continue to receive $5,000 from all the counties except for one over the last 4, 5, 6 years. So it's been a very successful program. As we go through this year, there's 4 major initiatives that we're working on. First of all, we're working with the Apalachicola Bay Systems Initiative folks down in Apalachicola Bay. They're in the process of developing a management plan for the bay. Why that's important to you all: the delivery of fresh water to the bay is directly correlated to the fresh water that comes by Jackson County within the sloughs, and it can be used by the environment and recreation purposes and things like that. But part of that process is they're going to be developing a management plan that's going to start looking at how they're going to deal with Apalachicola Bay itself. And part of our push is this is not a bay issue, it's a basin issue, and that any management plan needs to incorporate all the six counties and all of the resources within that, within the 6 counties. One of the benefits for doing a management plan in this manner, it will eventually run me out of a job. Part of the goal will be to transfer the Riparian County Stakeholder Coalition into some larger basin-wide management plan that may reside as part of this Apalachicola program. Another initiative is our work with the Tri-Rivers. Now, Tri-Rivers has been the navigation interest on the system, and you asked, what are we doing with those folks? We kicked them off about 10 years ago. Navigation has never been the problem. It's the way the Corps has handled dredging and the poor management of dredge spoil. They used to dredge about 1 million cubic yards of material on the river every year. The Corps, through Tri-Rivers, has requested Congress for a great deal of funding to repair the locks and dams at Woodruff, Robert F. George, especially those two. Those are huge assets that should be maintained. And what's going on right now is we're not even able to get recreational traffic up and down through Jim Woodruff Dam. So there is an initiative to try to look at repairing the locks and dams, but also to try to bring navigation back onto the river. Now, the dredging was the problem. So how can we bring navigation back to the river and still do it in environmentally sensitive manner? And the value of navigation on the river is it allows us to put more flows down through the river and into the bay. So if we can get more flows in an environmentally sensitive manner, we can potentially look at bringing navigation back. What does that potentially mean for Jackson County? Are there opportunities, if navigation's on the river, to create economic development opportunities here in Jackson County with navigation? The CSX facility up in Eufaula, can we put goods and services onto barges to take them to Eufaula and hook them up with CSX there? Can we take trucks off the road and transfer them through navigation? Can we take goods down to the port of Panama City? So there's all sorts of opportunities there to combine environmental benefit with economic development. We also work with the ACFS, that's the Apalachicola Chattahoochee Flint stakeholders, with a new water control plan that was initiated by the Corps a couple of years ago. The ACFS is obligated to look at their sustainable water management plan and reinitiate discussions about the metrics of how we deliver water from throughout the basin. So we're steady involved with that. We facilitate the Apalachicola Caucus that meets with the Apalachicola stakeholders. We're also collaborating with the ABSI folks to initiate a discussion on the metrics of water resources in Florida. So they're going to be looking at what are the metrics, how much fresh water do we need, how salty should the water be in the bay, how many oysters we can produce for whatever. But there's also the need to look at those metrics in the bay, in the watershed itself. How much water do we need for the Tupelo industry in the floodplains and things like that? So those are the issues that we'll be looking at over this next year and trying to help in those conversations with the ACFS stakeholders. We're also working with FWC and NOAA in debris management as it relates to marine debris. I know there's problems on the Chipola River. I'm managing a project now in Gulf County, a $5 million dredging project in Gulf County funded through NIFWIP, where we're cleaning out sloughs, redistributing fresh water, opening up sloughs for recreational purposes, and taking fresh water back into the floodplain to reestablish the Tupelo cypress swamps in there. So that's a major initiative that's been going on. And we're trying to get FWC and NOAA to focus on the freshwater portions of the basin and not just the coastal portions. And the last thing I just wanted to talk a little bit about me. I'm a professional engineer and a coastal engineer. I do both in my business. With this funding, I work for you. I am a member of your staff. And one of the things that the counties have not done is reach out to me if there are things or issues that you want me to look at, you want me to review, you want a professional opinion on anything, especially as it relates to water resources within Jackson County. I'm an asset, and you can call me or Chad and get my support on those things, and I'm basically already paid for. So that's my presentation for today.
Very good. Thank you. Mr. Hill, you have.
A real quick question. I was contacted probably 4 months ago. I think it was, I can't remember if it was before at the Supreme Court ruling
Yes.
on the water issues, and his company in Kansas or Missouri. I think maybe Missouri. But a quick question is, how is that ruling going to affect that dredging? I know what his intent is to do. It will entail some form of a dredging on supplies into our county. Is
It
there
has-
time frames? I mean, and that's, I don't know the draft of the boat or anything. That was a big issue back in the early 90s on how deep the dredges had to be. So I don't know that proposed, but as far as longevity for a business proposal to him, what kind of questions or answers do I have for him to say that might be something feasible for you to look at, which he is?
So the Corps of Engineers and the operation of the locks and dams on the river have navigation as one of its designated uses. So navigation remains a designated use. It was pulled in Florida for environmental reasons. The whole idea of dredging a 9-foot deep, 100-foot wide channel just created havoc on the system. So the Tri-Rivers people, and this is why we're interested, are interested in alternative channel design and alternative draft vessels. So we're talking about tugboats that are pulling 3.5 and 4 feet instead of 8 and 9 feet, and barges in the same manner. And also dredging something on the order of 10 to 50,000 cubic yards instead of 1 million cubic yards a year. So that you're not getting this huge inundation of sediments. But the other thing is, what's the management of the sediments are going to be? Before they just put all the material within banks. And then when the high water came, it went on down. They created this perpetual machine of them dredging all the time. It didn't solve a lot of problems. If we can get the sand out of the system, we can get the Corps, negotiate with the Corps to get the sand out of the system. And that it's a valuable commodity, sand for construction and things like that. If we can get them to make it available to counties and others, sell it, whatever, but to get it out of the river system, then it'll have a much different impact. And those are the kind of discussions we're having with Tri-Rivers. And I know they are in the process, and I've been talking to the chairman there, but they're in the process of finalizing an economic development study for the Alabama portion of the river. And I've had numerous discussions with him about, well, what could that mean to Jackson County, Blountstown, Bristol, Weewa? How are you going to interact with the Port of Port St. Joe? Are you going to interact with the Port of Panama City? All those are issues that are potentially available, are we should be discussing. And with the new CSX facility in Eufaula, that's where the rail's going. How do you get your services up there? And does it provide an opportunity for somebody to get back into the river business in Jackson County or any of the counties?
Have you looked at hydrofoils?
I know what they are, and I'm not looking at them specifically, but
Instead of doing all the dredging, you could run a hydrofoil right up the river.
right. Well, then it comes to the barge and how deep is the barge? But yes, those are absolutely questions that they should be asked. The technology changes.
It runs. You put it on the hydrofoil. I'm talking about. I ain't talking about the little one. I'm talking about the big
Oh,
one.
yeah.
I've
No,
seen.
Well,
huge
back to
ones.
my question. So what can I tell this prospect person?
I
Time
would,
frame, a year, 5 years? We don't know. I mean, he's called multiple
well,
times.
right now, the request has gone to Congress. It's trying to go through the word of bill. I would have him get a hold of Philip Clayton And Philip Clayton is the chairman of Tri-Rivers. And I'll be happy
You
to,
just drop his
I can
information.
get you information
Very good.
on.
And I may
his-
just send him to you just to get some more details.
He's welcome to call me and I'm
Sounds good.
happy to send him on to different places.
Thank
A lot of important work to be done, a lot of important questions and conflict issues that need to be worked on. We appreciate your work on that. I'll offer a motion that we approve the request for $5,000 annual funding.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Donifro, second by Commissioner Hill. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And anytime.
Ms. Willan Daniel.
Yes, sir. This is to recognize Ms. Tammy Dasher as the new autism program director, and I would just invite Ms. Dasher to come up. And David, why don't you come up with her too, so she's not all alone up here. David's been an integral
We know
part
David.
in the search for Ms. Dasher, and so
I won't make her look good.
so Ms. Dasher's coming to us with over 29 years of experience, and I have had the opportunity to run many interviews and search for many employees for a lot of different positions, but never have I had one that someone came with such passion and true, it's just passion. That's how I summed it up when she concluded her interview. And you can have all the certificates in the world, but you can't reproduce a passion for people like she has. So we're just so excited to have her. And we're going to ask the board if y'all don't have any questions. And once she gets to share a little bit about herself, if you will confirm her as the new director. So
Ms.
Tammy, you
Dasher?
wanna share anything?
Tell everyone else. I know who you are.
I was here the other day. Good evening. I'm Tammy Dasher, and I'm honored to be the new program director, hopefully, if you approve me for Next Step Academy. I am a special educator. I worked at Pace High School over in Santa Rosa County for 21 years as a special educator at Pace High School. And the past 8 years, I've been working with FSU's Autism Institute. I'd like to commend Jackson County and everyone who's worked so hard, David, Will, and people to bring this project here because it is sorely needed to help individuals with autism reach their full potential. So I just thank you for that, and I'm just thrilled to be here.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner
Go ahead.
Hill, second by Commissioner Pate to confirm Ms. Dasher. Any questions?
We'd just like to welcome you aboard, Ms. Dasher.
Thank you.
When do you anticipate starting, actually, boots on the ground as far as your work goes?
I started last Wednesday, and we're hoping to have the first cohort of students in January.
Yeah, so normally I would have gotten this confirmed before she started, so. But the way the meetings fell and with the date she could start, she technically started last Wednesday, and she has started with a vengeance. So I can't wait to see what's to come.
Yes, I'm a little ahead of myself.
Well, welcome aboard. Okay, any more questions? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you. Welcome
Thank you.
aboard again.
Yes.
No, she did come in last week
Yeah.
and we talked to her.
So I technically brought her in the day she started, but there was not a quorum here, so y'all could not take action. So,
Right.
and for the benefit of the press, we will be releasing a press release tomorrow, I believe, on Ms. Dasher, so they'll be able to get all the information on that tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, consent agenda items. Everyone's had an opportunity to review the agenda
Mr. Chair,
booklet.
make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Got a
Second.
motion by Commissioner Pate, second by Commissioner McKinney. Any questions? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0. Chief Broner.
Yes, sir. Good evening. This is a request for board approval and authorize the chairman to sign the contract with Acid Remap LLC. This is an app that will be used by our employees that will house the medical and trauma guidelines for our EMS agency for employees to use and reference when treating patients. And
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Pate. Are there any questions?
Just a recurring cost?
Yes, sir.
yes, sir, it is.
Anything else? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Rhett Daniels.
Good evening. My first request tonight is board approval of change order number 3 for Southern Boulevard. This will increase the amount of paving being done. So we're going to actually do a couple offshoots on some roads in the vicinity of Southern Boulevard, being Russell Avenue and a portion of Vancouver Drive. So this is a DOT project, but they have approved this change order to be paid for from county funds.
They approved to pay for it, us to pay for it. I like that.
Yes, sir.
Luann, what's the story here?
Yeah, is that correct?
Or Danielle?
Your FDOT grant will not cover that. It's not in the.
Yeah, this would come out of
original
my
work for
contingency.
Boulevard.
Is it coming out of yours?
Okay,
Okay.
coming out of your continue.
All right.
The DOT approval is that they don't have any objection to us
Right. it's coming out.
Okay.
using the.
Right. It's a DOT grant.
But it comes out of District 4.
That's right.
Full funds.
I
Okay,
was on
that's-
that road this weekend. It definitely needs it. So it's good.
okay. Any more questions?
Make a motion, we approve the request.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Pate,
I second.
second by Commissioner McKinney. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0. Mr. David Melvin.
This is the Endeavor demolition contract. It's the final change order and closeout of the project. And our final closeout has one change order in there for $85,687. We originally estimated that we would have 2,000 tons of concrete to grind, and we ended up with 9,789. So the bad news is we got 85,000. The good news is you got a lot more material out there. And so you're getting that material for $11 a ton was with the crushing rate. And lime rock delivers about $15 a ton. Crushed concrete, I checked, was about $25 a ton. So
What's the funding source on this for this?
it's out of the job. Out of
It's
the
a
grant.
job.
Yeah.
So
We're gonna move all of it to District 5.
Right.
Got a motion by Commissioner Hill,
Second,
second by Commissioner Pate.
while we're on that, how are we gonna distribute that? Or what are we gonna do?
2,000 tons, basically.
Yes, 10,000 tons. And you asked before, I calculated if you use it for road-based material, 26 foot wide, 8 inches thick, it'll do a little over 1.5 miles of road.
So we're getting ready to do
Work
Mashburn
out there.
and Boozer.
Well, you
I
got
think-
stuff there too.
Yeah, I was about to say, to me, I mean, just bird feed, it's not even in my district. I think that would probably be beneficial to keep that close to the.
Close
to
to the
the
site,
site.
yeah, that would be ideal.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it should say
Right
Boozer
there.
or Mashburn. I mean, we can use it somewhere else, of course, but I mean, for that to be coming from that facility, I think it would be very poignant to just let it stay in that area.
Just on.
Can
Yeah,
we use some of it, like you said, can we go ahead and put some of that on the roads to help the cost of maybe just pick one? But right now, I think Mashburn's closer to being done with their project.
We
in the
opened
city.
bids, on Mashburn
Right.
because it's a city project.
Right, sure.
Thursday. So
But going past that point,
They're
past
going
that
past that.
2,300 foot, could we then start putting that down to help the cost of later
I
on
don't know.
and finish it out?
Does it make a good?
Or should we keep it on the?
I would, you'd want to
Campus.
build your road bed and do, you wouldn't want to just put the
Oh,
rock.
no,
on
that's
top
what I'm
of it.
saying, but I mean, if we did the calculation.
Yeah, if you went ahead and, pulled the ditches. and-
Yeah, that's what I'm
and
saying.
built
Make
the
it prep
road
it
bed,
like
you-
it's gonna be
you
built
could-
and just
you
use it
could.
there, or,
You
because
could.
a Poozer gonna be further down the road than Mashburn, right?
No,
I don't know.
Well, Mashburn's already been done. I got that. I'm talking about past, part of it. Yeah, part of it. It's only 2,300 foot.
What do
for the
you
first-
suggest? Use it there on campus?
Yeah, or waiting for Poozer to be paved.
if you do
on that.
Boozer, you just go right by the sheriff's department.
Well,
Yeah,
that
you don't
road's
have
gotta
to
be-
get on the
but you
road.
can.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah. How long for Poozer? I mean, we don't even have funding for Poozer. Right.
Yeah,
We don't
we're
have
working
funding
on
from
that.
Mashburn either. Just
Well,
some of
you-
Mashburn.
You got the funding for the Hmgp part of Poozer, and I talked to Rod before he came over. The plans are complete
Right.
for Poozer, and actually they met out there with the Water Management District last week on it and worked out a few things on stormwater
The
ponds.
problem is
and
$3 or
all
$4
that.
million to pave it.
Yeah, I brought the
Yeah.
cost estimate, yeah.
That's the problem.
4 million.
Well,
I can't remember. It's 3 or 4, right?
I've got it.
It's
I've
a
got it
lot.
laying back.
Well,
It was a
that
lot
goes-
more than what, I mean.
Well,
'cause
it's,
changing
it's a
the
little
alignment.
over, it's 2.3 miles and it's about $1 million a
You
mile.
got some
It's-
water
it's in
issues,
the
but-
2.5, 3
But you
million.
got the.
And a portion
ponds.
of that it get paid with the Hmgp, not
But
a
not
long
much.
stretch, but not, not a lot, but.
I just asked. I mean,
Well, I know, but I mean, I think the question is a great question, but I still think that what if we use that concrete where when the city ends, we start going and putting that concrete on that part of it, there's potentially more business gonna become beside that business first before, it might be 2 or 3 years before we get Boozer done, right?
We gotta find.
I mean, you gotta find the money is what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we got the city's gonna do that first part.
You
If
could
we
do
just
part of it.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess my question would be, would that crushed concrete make a good temporary road base? Or I know it'll make a good base, but will it be good for,
Asphalt on top of it.
It-
well, I know it'll be good
it-
for asphalt on top of it.
Yeah, I think it will. Sometimes you're worried about being kind of
How
sharp
big?
edges in it, but it doesn't, if you've gone out to that pile and looked at it,
Does
it
hold
doesn't
up
really,
after
it
it's
doesn't
wet?
really have sharp edges or anything. I think
Did
it's
somebody
good
use a
road
little
base.
bit in the holes there? on
Yeah,
the
yeah, I
road?
guess
could tell that.
Somebody
was what it was.
with the county, has been
Yeah.
using it, scooping up some and putting in some of the low places out there.
All right.
I mean, it's yours, it's sitting there. I mean, you can use it.
I did.
What you want
Can
to.
I say?
Okay. All right. We got a motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Pate. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, David. Hunter Potts.
Okay, good afternoon, Commissioners.
Hello.
The first item I have here is asking for your approval to propose quitclaim deed from JCBOCC to the school board. So in deeding this property, the Endeavor property to the county, it's discovered that this portion of the legal description of the property overlapped with the school and was deeded to the county, or deeded by the state to the county in error. So if you look at the map, it's a little tiny triangle portion.
Okay, I got a motion by Commissioner Hill. Second by Commissioner McKinney. Any questions?
Yeah, I mean, the school board has just gone through a bid process where they're gonna be potentially conveying that middle school property to a private person. How will this, I think, be impacted?
Probably in relation to that
It
deal,
is,
isn't
so
it?
they did title work on the school and discovered that the legal description from the state to the county for the Endeavor site included this little triangle. That those legal descriptions are so old, that road may not even existed when, when that legal was drawn up. So
It's just to clean it up, right?
it's just to clean up title so that they can convey clear title.
It'll stop that process if you don't.
Any more questions? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0. On the next one.
Sure, so this is a request to set a public hearing for the board adoption of the gas tax revenue bond ordinance on September 7th at 9:15 a.m. or soon thereafter.
So moved.
I have a motion by Commissioner Pate, second by Commissioner Donifro. Any
Shouldn't
questions?
that don't be a PM meeting, not AM? We don't have a special meeting that morning?
We're gonna have a special meeting that day for budget.
This is
Because we're
not
doing
your
budget
regular
all day.
meeting.
Okay, all right, very good. I just want to make, I knew we had changed it. Okay. Yeah.
And this will be presented by Jim Callahan on that day.
Any more questions? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0. Next one's yours also,
Yes,
Mr. Hunter.
this is a request to set a public hearing to consider adopting a utility system revenue bond ordinance for September 15th or September 14th at 6:15 p.m. This is also going to be presented by Jim Callahan as well.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Hill,
Second.
second by Commissioner McKinney. Any questions? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0.
So this, the addition,
No,
It's
the-
Number 8, Will Ann.
Or I can get it.
Oh, sorry.
It's fine. Just stay there because yours is next again. This is a request for board discussion and request to set a public hearing for the additional 5-cent gas tax for September 7th at 9:15 a.m.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Hill,
Second.
second by Commissioner Donifro. Any questions? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0. All right. Number 9 is Rhett Daniel.
Yes, sir. So this is a request for final closeout and approval of change order 1 on the Highway 167 Fairview Road signage and pavement marking. It'll be an increase of a little over $5,000, and I would like board approval to close out contingent on FDOT concurrence.
Okay, I move to grant the request.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Pate.
I thought he mentioned something about a change order too.
He did, but that's approved by DOT. Right, but I mean,
You include that in your motion?
yeah,
Okay, I do too.
I did. yeah.
All right, second by Commissioner Hill. Commissioner
What
Donfro.
was the change order for? I didn't.
It's in the packet.
Is it?
the additional packet.
Yeah, it was some additional thermoplastic, the reflectors and message signs.
Okay.
How long is that project, Brett?
It was,
How long was it? It started before I got here, so I'm not.
it's a safety,
Right,
yeah,
safety,
the length of the,
length of it.
Oh, the length of the road?
Yes, the length of the project, whatever, I know what length, is it the whole road?
It went to the county line to Penn Avenue or sorry.
it was a safety project through the DOT,
Okay.
just for striping and signage. Yeah, I tried to get them to widen.
All right, any more questions? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0. Hunter?
Okay, so this is your asking board discussion of Jackson County legislative priorities. So we identified kind of a top 4 different projects for you. So if you go into your additions, should be the very back page of that packet you have there in front of you. Flip it over to the very back, that should be it. Right there, it's a memo. And so we identified kind of 4 top projects, and we kind of want just your blessing on those top 4, and then maybe kind of you could rank those in order of importance, and also you can give us more projects too if you have some. But the first project here in no particular order is 2 fire trucks for fire rescue. So we currently have 3 fire trucks. 1 is 22 years old, 1 is 17, and 1 is a mini pump truck. So those 2 that we're talking about replacing are the 22 and 17. They're nearing their end of life. So these fire trucks would go a long way to helping out. So the approximate cost is around about $1 million for those. Next one is Ag Center facility renovation. So this is like all the things that weren't covered by FEMA, plus some additional like economic development kind of stuff out there. So it's be a new barn that has concrete aisles, electrical and water infrastructure to house larger livestock animals. This is also new cow panel fencing and animal boarding stalls for the arena. And that way they could have large scale radios. And the next one, so our road drainage project. So we were asking commissioners and also work with road and bridge staff to identify 5 smaller drainage projects that we could total up to around like $1 million to be able to mitigate those issues. So for example, we had Pilcher Road and Charm Road identified. And the last one, we have an Army Corps of Engineers ditch and floodplain debris removal. This is around Lake Seminole, where there is a significant amount of debris and silt that are backing up the water flow. So that's causing the surrounding farmland to remain saturated and prohibits the farmers to be able to use the land.
Well, to that, you can add flooding the fields, but roads and yards.
Right.
So this in no particular order, but we got to prioritize them?
Yes, and that way,
We
whenever
don't do that.
what
We need
happens.
it tonight, because we have to get these to Alan. We have to have the forms done by August 31st. So this was the deadline we promised y'all to have it narrowed down. We started with a much larger list, but after working with Alan, a lot of the things on the list already have grant sources that you can go after. So we tried to really identify things that don't have grant funding sources readily available to apply for. And so this is kind of what we narrowed down as the 4 things. He recommended coming up with 4. The delegation may only pick up 2 of them, may pick up none of them. But if you all wanted to say, 1, 2, 3, 4, or if you want to take some off and add something else, that's fine, but this is what we narrowed down.
Let me ask the commissioners, is there anything you want to put on this list?
Well, what qualifies that?
Yeah. I would say
Anything,
I would kinda
you
like
don't
to,
want to,
see the list.
I mean, you don't want to put on a small project,
Yeah.
you know, like this drainage project. That is something they would probably look at.
Well, water is crucial right now. I mean, we obviously didn't get any of the drainage ditch done through Michael, obviously, and, but I mean, the flood, now where's Pilchard and Charman? What roads are
They
they?
actually, well, let's go back to the ditches for a minute.
Yeah.
This is all around Lake Seminole. What about all of them?
It should be the county.
Yeah, the
really.
countywide, not just
Yeah.
around Lake
Mhm.
Seminole.
Right.
So even though there is need, we.
Yeah,
we
but
know
we got
there
needs,
is.
and that kind of blends into the road drainage area. Where's the two roads, Pilchard and
So
Charman?
Pilcher
Oh,
and
okay.
Charm, those are
They're-
examples.
Actually, both of them's in my district.
Those
but
are
they're
examples.
issues.
Yeah, so
Well,
those
then
are
you're gonna have to pay for
examples of,
Seriously?
that are ongoing drainage issues, but we need to work to come up with about $1 million request. And those are just two that came off the top of our head because they're ongoing, you know, they come
Yeah,
up
come up with
frequently.
5 is what it's saying,
Um,
roads.
But if we came up with maybe like 5 was the number we came up with, but not every district may have that same kind of issue. Like I know your issue in 4 is the drainage ditches. So we kind of broke those actually into what, 2 requests, the drainage ditches and then these other kind of drainage projects.
Charm Road has had some legal issues and been a problem that hadn't been solved. And then that Pilcher Road, that's landlocked. There's a long story to them. They both issues have been there since before I got here.
Or they closed basins.
That one is, but the question is, who closed it? Let's get that out.
Well, does anyone have anything else they want to?
I'd
Well,
like,
they
while we
want
got
you to
David
add
here,
some.
one of the things that we've been talking about, and I don't know exactly if it's funding source has been identified, but I know that we've been talking about electrical out at Endeavor. Do we have that covered somehow? I mean, I know there's a lot of large electrical needs out there, David. Do we have that covered yet?
We're submitting for it in that CDBG-DR application.
So those are the kinds of things, and the list was what you all gave us pretty much that day we met during budget. We wrote it out. We sat down, we met with Alan and the chairman, and we sort of said, like, you know, this we're already applying for, or this is already has a funding source, because you really want to use this for it fits nowhere else. Or you've tried multiple times and were unsuccessful or something like that.
I guess going along with what Commissioner Pate said, that, you know, the more general that we can describe these projects so that we can, because I've even got some small drainage issues in my
Well, that's
district
what
that,
you can
as
do.
long- you know, it may not fit with, it may not be big enough to put on this list by itself, but if it can, if some of these drainage issues can be
Our thought with the road drainage project request specifically was to get with each of you, and if you had 1 or 2, even if we couldn't get them all funded, but we could say, you know, $1 million and just take that as far as we could, with hopefully each of you getting something solved. That was the thought behind it.
What about broadband? I don't see anything on there, on here.
Well, there's pots of money for broadband already from the state, so this will be.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, ideally, if our contract unfolds the way that we hope that it will, we shouldn't need anything for it.
But you mentioned a 2-letter word, it's a big one.
When is the
Yeah.
contract? When is it supposed to be finalized? I mean,
We're waiting, by the end of the week, we're supposed to have a contract back from the P3 group that we're going to start with our attorneys. That's where we're at with it. So they're supposed to have it to us by the end of the week, and then our attorneys will take it from there and say what we can.
So if we
I would say
choose these
put
4 to 9, we can morph them how we want to, or they'll be specific projects.
We'll work with Alan. Well, so like the fire trucks would be a specific project. The ag center would be a specific project. The drainage project, we really would need to get with each of you to determine what in your district would be your priority for a drainage. We just didn't have time to expand that for tonight.
But I guess my more question is, if the legislation says we choose to do Lake Seminole, but Clint's doesn't get done, I mean, his for Pilcher and Charm, can we divide that money once we get it, or is it gonna be legislative?
No, I think if
specific?
they put an appropriation in for Lake Seminole, it would be for Lake Seminole.
What if we write it though for drainage?
Yeah, I think.
Well, I'm just
Well,
saying, if
because-
they put it in that way, that's how they're gonna fund it. If you put it in for addressing drainage issues in Jackson County and make it more general.
Yeah, I think that's the better.
Yeah, on that
thing.
last one, I would
That's what
take
we
that
have
off and just put
Drainage
drainage.
issues all throughout the county.
Yeah, I think, yeah,
You
that's
know.
right, because that, I mean,
I know
every one
I-
of us has got
Right.
that issue, every one of us.
This might be getting off a little bit, but I don't know how, but well, Jim's here, but the city of Marietta cleaned a bunch of ditches out.
Yeah.
Over in Chipley, they're cleaning ditches out now.
Jim,
Yeah,
you're our
they-
hero, Jim.
Evan,
Oh, yeah.
How-
you are.
Evan, how did they do that?
Yeah, how can we not get money to clean out ditches when everybody else is getting money to clean
So
out
the
ditches?
primary reason we struggle with getting money from the traditional sources is we can't demonstrate that we have maintained them. We have no record that we've maintained them. And so you either, and Jim could speak to this, either have to sign a piece of paper saying we've maintained them, we could certify we have, or you have to produce record that you have. Like NRCS, that's where some of those get into, that we struggle with demonstrating with some of these old
I
ditches.
seen some in Chipley, they ain't never maintained, but they still got them clean now.
Well, I
But
don't know what
I don't
funding
know.
source they use.
I
That
don't
may
know
be
either.
different. I'm talking about the NRCS, some of these traditional sources, that's where we have struggled with getting funding for. But with like a legislative appropriation, if they went with us here, I can't see them really asking that because it's not a program that requires that. I also don't think $1 million is gonna clean all of our ditches. I want to say that.
$1 million will clean all of mine.
One thing Ella did mention when we talked to them was that the legislative requests need to be kind of specific to like one specific project. So I'm not sure if a broad general, like, here's a pot of money for all your drainage problems is gonna be sufficient for them to say, to justify giving us the funding for that.
You could term it like the Chipola River drainage basin, something like that, which gives you a lot of flexibility as opposed to, Lake Seminole.
Right.
No, we have a drainage basin over there.
Yeah.
It drains from west of 69
Well, that was.
all the way to Lake Seminole through ditches.
The other thing I just wanted to say is, while these are projects we've identified that would be helpful to the county, there's no guarantee that they will say, even if, no matter how we word it, they may say, that's too broad, that covers too much. I don't feel like, that's why we want 4, because we feel like they'll if they pick up any, would pick up at the most 2. So we
Well,
want to have some options.
We need to, I guess, rank them. What do y'all want to put number 1?
We got
Like
old
road
fire trucks. I mean.
So you
got
want fire trucks?
No, I don't
number
know,
one?
but we can get $1 million
I
to
want-
buy 2 fire trucks.
Yeah.
And they're 22
Road
and
drainage,
old.
number one, for me, road drainage, project. Because constantly having so much issue with our roads and then it blowing out the roads, water got to go somewhere. We got to get control of that.
Mhm. So you want the drainage issue number 1?
Number one, that's my
Okay.
issue.
What about? What
It's not-
about
I don't
you?
disagree with that. I think that's a
Well,
good choice.
$1.5 million ain't gonna go too far on road drainage.
Where did the 1.5 come from? Was that,
That's just what we think would be a
Yeah, so Alan,
reasonable ask.
So-
Yeah.
yeah,
Did he give us a limit? Did he give us a ceiling?
he said $1 million is roughly a sweet spot for what the asks are gonna be. So that's what we kind of said. If we're gonna do 5 projects, $1 million probably won't cover that, but 1.5 is a little more.
So he said we could do 5 or 4.
So he said, probably gonna do a 2, but we want to go ahead and do 4. That would be better for us. That way we can have some additional requests in there, give them some variance. But really, the 2 top priority are gonna be the ones that probably gonna.
Is in
move forward.
disagreement in doing the drainage ditches number 1?
Well, I don't at all. I mean, I think that's her thing, but my problem is if y'all saying what it is true, and they say it's too broad, and they kick it out, then you've done nothing.
Well, but then we
Well,
have.
there's
to have
no
projects
guarantee they're
to
gonna
play
pick up
with.
anything.
Oh, I know. I just
guarantee.
I just wanted it where it was fair and equitable to all the commissioners. If you get too specific, then they may say it's so specific, it's here. If you get too broad, they may kick it out. So you're. I mean, I don't have a problem with putting number
So
one.
if they do kick it out, we have two other projects, because we only think they're gonna pick up probably two. So then you have two other projects to play with.
If they kick out priority number one, it doesn't mean that they're not gonna look at 2 and 3 and 4.
But let me ask, when y'all are saying ditches, are you talking about this last one we're calling the Army Corps or road drainage projects? Commissioner
I would
Kennedy?
call it road drainage. I wouldn't call it Army Corps of Engineers. It's
Well, now you're
drainage
combining them
ditches.
two.
I'm not talking about the one above it. I'm talking about the last.
But he's talking about the one above.
That's what I'm talking about, the one above.
Oh, you're talking about the one
Right.
above it?
That's a road drainage.
Road
ditches.
drainage. But like I
The
said,
third
1.5,
item on the list.
it's not gonna go very far. I'm not so sure that the number 1 and 2 would be things that we would actually get from legislation.
Well,
I will say
we
this.
might get the fire truck.
I think that when you can give them a tangible thing for them to fund, like the trucks or like a facility, I actually think because it's a tangible thing, it's an easy grant to
Right.
administer.
So we got 75,000 a year we've set back for fire trucks. How many years?
We got took off of that when we,
So how much, so we took it all off?
You spent on other things.
Okay,
last year
all right.
anyway.
Yeah. Well, I'd say that needs to be in the top two, I mean, in my opinion, because,
I mean, I'd like to get something else, but at some point you're gonna have to have fire trucks.
yeah, we don't have to.
They gonna,
And they funded some ambulances, so maybe that's emergency response. I'm not saying prioritize as a number one, but it needs to be in the, 'cause that is something, again, the 22-year one. I mean, if it fails inspection, you automatically, the county doesn't have a certified truck.
Then put the fire trucks number 1, the road drainage project number 2, ag center number 3, and then Army
I
Corps.
don't even,
number
yeah,
4.
yeah, exactly. I don't know, the core ditches, that ain't gonna touch it. I mean, I only know that I'd be-
I need
well,
about
I don't know that neither one is gonna touch very much.
Yeah. Is there
So
another,
that's why
also, if we
I would
struck
put
off,
number 1 and 2.
Just put,
in the
well,
order.
listen, don't strike anything.
well, is there something
Give
else
it-
we can insert besides
Oh.
the core engineer ditches?
I would say.
Well, I
something.
wouldn't call them Corps of Engineers.
That's what I'm saying. Why don't we just strike
So
that?
we can come up with better language,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Drainage
Drainage ditches.
All we're trying to get is the priority list, then we'll work with Alan to try to make it. Yes. So I just heard, but I want to know if this is what the board,
Fire
Fire
trucks,
truck one.
road drainage 2, ag center 3, and Army Corps 4, but we're not gonna call it.
what are you talking about road drainage? Because I think if you could combine those two. really.
Well,
Right, actually.
Can
Actually,
I,
you could.
can I explain though that specifically what we were talking about with road drainage is we have these recurring issues, some of a legal nature, that we just don't have the funds to conquer. And so, we could narrow those down to 3, 4, 5, ideally 5 spots. And I'm not talking about paving roads or anything like that, but whether it is to construct a stormwater pond, if that's feasible, if it is to get the engineer design done on that. It's these spots that
Would,
you
would,
can't
the
move on.
one issue that's been going on in my district for many, many years, and there doesn't seem to be an end to it, in between Watson Drive and the old Greenwood Road. Would that qualify for one of these?
Is it a drainage?
Yeah, it's a
issue?
drainage
Yeah,
issue.
so
It
that's-
floods a lady's yard.
So
every
that's
time
the
it
kind
rains.
of things we're trying to isolate into each
Well, what I'm
district
saying is you
ideally.
could, if you put it under drainage, you encapsulate both.
And I agree with you 100% with one exception, understanding that it may, or y'all stated it may be too broad, if it's too broad, it's gonna get.
I don't think it,
I mean, I think it's. a
I
great
think you
idea.
can write it narrow enough to encompass all of it.
It would be too broad, I think, if you said, we want to address all these countywide draining problems. Well, I think it'd be narrow enough if you said, here's 5 projects we want to do with this funding. And
We can give you
that,
areas.
Yeah,
That-
each district.
We can
come up
narrow
with
it
one.
down, that's what I'm saying.
yes, I think
These
that's
two
good.
Commissioner
years, been there
McKinney may
7
have
years.
some road he wants to
Right,
deal with.
right.
More than 7.
I'll give you some of my roads.
I really think those two need to be 2 different projects. The drainage issues, these isolated drainage issues versus ditches.
I don't know.
Core ditches.
Well,
Core ditches
y'all
would be-
calling them core, but they're not really all core ditches. They're all
Yeah, some of them.
Hoover and WPA and everything
Well,
else.
Federal.
Yeah.
I'm
Alright.
just thinking of from a grant administration perspective, trying to break that down into deliverables and define what it is we're trying to do. I think if you combine that all into one, first of all, that ask
Do
is
you
gonna
have a
be
road
even
good one?
larger.
Well, that's what I was about to say. If we could eliminate, in my opinion, the core one totally together and say road drainage, as Commissioner McKinney stated, and let each one of us put 5 roads in there, because I like Clinton, you
Each
just,
one of us? That's a lot. Total of five.
yeah, total 5,
Oh, okay.
total
I
5
thought you
roads.
said-
No, I'm
yeah.
sorry,
Yeah.
yeah. Because, I mean, like Clinton, you just said that if you got one that's been a problem, I had just had
Two
David
of them.
Melvin's office go out there and look at Seminole Lane, dirt road, that, correct me if I'm wrong, David, you said it was engineered drawing back in 2006. That sound right, David? Seminole Lane, you had some engineered drawing back in 06 on that, and it's still not fixed. I agree with Clint. We got issues, and McKinney,
Yeah.
every one of us has got one. I would, in my opinion, I think we should strike the last one, Corps of Engineers, even though that's in Gemini District, but
Well, we all got some.
we all got
But
some,
now
that's
the way
right.
it's done
Yeah,
is-
yeah, that's what I'm saying. The way it's done, it looks like it's just an hour. I would add, like McKinney just said, put road drainage projects, we put one on each one from each district, each one has have it, and shoot with 3 of them. I mean, if you have a more defined, scope, I think that's gonna target them, like they're
You
expressing.
never know which ones they'll pick up.
Oh, I know, but if we pick
I
up
wouldn't
one.
strike it. Why strike it? Just
Put
leave
it
it
in
on there.
number 4.
Yeah, put it
They're
number
not
4,
gonna-
that's fine
If
with me.
we get one, we're gonna be lucky.
Yeah, I agree with you, but my priority would be, I
Well-
agree. I think Donna probably said that, put the core last. I'd do number 1, fire trucks, number 2, ag center. Well, y'all wanna move road drainage to number 2?
That's what they said.
Yeah, that's right. Number 2 and number 3 ag, and leave Army Corps number 4. Does that go with everybody?
That'll work.
Let's do that.
All right. We don't need a
That's my
motion. Got a motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Pate. Any questions? All right, all those in favor of ranking the way Commissioner Hill said, raise your right hand.
It was all of it. Right, that's good.
We worked through it.
Yeah.
So if you could all just
Danielle, did you get that?
identify your top drainage project in your district and just send it to me if you can, and we can work on something.
Yeah, we can do
I'm gonna send
that.
you 2.
Me too.
Yeah.
No, you get one. but I'm putting it two.
Okay, who's got one under legal? Yeah.
Right now. Right now.
Who's about to get another one?
You probably.
You need to clean your ditches out.
Hey, this was before I got here.
Y'all still y'all some mess.
Still dealing with it.
Okay, moving along, Hunter? Public hearing. Guess I need to go into public
Yeah.
hearing.
Yeah, you gotta go into public here.
We're in public hearing. Mr. Potts,
Okay, this is the public hearing to adopt an ordinance re-levying the 6-cent local option fuel tax. And so this was what we did the interlocal agreements for. All municipalities signed those and have agreed to it. And so now we're just officially adopting that ordinance.
You need to read the whole ordinance
So-
by title.
So I need to have them adopt it first, or?
No, read the title.
Okay, an ordinance of the Board of County Commissioners of Jackson County, Florida, extending, renewing, restating, and reimposing the 6-cent local option fuel tax authorized under section 336.0251A Florida statutes for a term of 30 years, amending section 9451 of the Jackson County Code of Ordinances related to the 6-cent local option gas tax, providing legislative findings, providing for notice to the Department of Revenue, providing for codification, severability, and an effective date.
okay,
You gotta ask here. Yeah.
For-
For again.
is there anyone for or against this? Hearing none. We're out
Mr.
of
Chairman,
public hearing. Yo,
I had a hand raised over Zoom. Miss Deborah Buckhalter.
okay, go ahead, Miss Deborah.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you, Deborah. You have to speak up.
What about now? Any better?
Yeah, I got you. You sound like you're under a bucket, but go ahead.
I'm sorry. Does this renewal of the 6-cent and the new 5-cent tax that you're going to discuss in public on the 7th, would those, if those combined, would this make an 11 cents on the gallon that motorists would pay if both of those were to pass, just so I understand, do they relate that way or am I confused?
What is the 6 cent? Is that-
Uh,
The 6 cents has been imposed for.
how many
4 or 5
years?
decades.
If we
30.
adopt them both, I think it takes, so, with everything that we have.
The 6 cents has been in for 15 years,
So, not longer than that.
30, I think.
15, 30 years.
Well, I'm looking at
Deborah, it's-
April 6, 1986. That was one of the first ones. I'm looking at that date.
No, I understand that, but if that
It'll be
one
between 11 and 12 cents, Deborah.
on the gallon, is that right? Not on the dollar?
Correct.
But
Per gallon,
okay, thank you.
not on,
But we're not discussing the 5 cent now. This is just extending the 6 cent that's always been there.
And this 6 cent does include diesel.
that's correct.
But it's not a new one, it's just extended.
Yeah, a lot of
Extending the
a lot of
existing
cities
one,
have built their budgets on this, correct?
All of the cities
Yeah.
did agree to.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, they depend on that money
Yeah.
or
Well,
to do
we do
any
too.
road maintenance that they get.
Not,
Anything else?
That's all I have over Zoom, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we're out of public hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the request and authorize the chairman to sign.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Fake, second by Commissioner McKinney. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0.
Well, we've already stated it, but it is not a increase on your gas tax.
Right.
It's extending what's there.
Right. And I guess we could find out if it superseded April 8th of 1986, it probably was imposed before that, wouldn't it? Probably.
Don't
I've heard of
they say this
several
goes for
decades.
30
It
years?
was, this thing, no, I'm not gonna go into it.
When it shows the board on that.
It was, it's been on and off.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Hunter,
Gotta go back to.
Yep.
back in public hearing.
Okay, so this is the public hearing to get your board discussion and public comment from anybody that's out there attending the meeting, either in person or online. So this is our HMGP match applications through the CDBG DR funding. So they obligated $109 million to this. This is to provide that 25% local match to eligible counties or entities that have been awarded funding through FEMA's Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. So we have currently 3 applications right now through the HMGP program. And that the first one is the 7 lift stations. So the listing of those lift stations is in the item description below. And we have for generators for those lift stations. Then we have a project for our critical facilities, generators for those buildings. Then we have a drainage project for Cruiser Road. So
Is that in particular order?
these are not in order. So currently we have received that they're moving forward with the funding for the Cruiser Road project. And we're still working through the other 2, but officially it closes, I think, at the end of August for the HMGP program. But I mean, if all goes well, there's no reason why they shouldn't be accepted.
Will this impact this next year's budget?
So if we get this match program, it'll be at no cost to the county as long as the bids we get back come back within reason. And if they do come back over budget, we can always request additional funds through the HMGP program. So,
Okay. Is there anyone here for or against this?
so I will have I got a sign-in sheet that I'll just pass around to the people out here in the audience. But other than that, that's all I have.
Okay,
So it's part of the grant requirement to do this public hearing.
Okay.
FYI.
okay. Fred, do you have anyone waving a finger?
No hands raised, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
So moved.
We're out of public session.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Donifro. All those in favor, raise your hand.
Authorize them to move forward with submitting the application, correct? Right.
Yeah,
So the agenda item said.
That's what agenda, yeah.
that's what you needed, right, Hunter?
You just needed us to have the public. hearing for the people to say.
Oh, okay.
We've already
Well-
approved those things.
Well, we want to make sure we cover our bases.
Yeah, it's,
It does say in the potential.
yeah,
motion.
and I say it says we need a motion. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
What did you say?
On the
What
back
you saying
page,
on that?
164.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Hey, don't,
Well,
don't
hurt over
tell
kill.
us to do it. We'll do it.
So do we need to approve it or not?
we just did.
It's
We
due.
did it. Already done it. It's done.
All right,
No biggie.
You was part of it. You raised your hand.
Ms. Amber. All right, we're in public hearing again.
Good evening. This is board discussion and approval to extend a development agreement for waste management. On November the 7th, 2019, the Board of County Commissioners approved a modification to an existing development agreement for waste management to install one leachate evaporator and 3 additional leachate evaporators in the future. The applicant is requesting a 4-month extension to the 24-month construction term specified in the development agreement. This extension to March 2022 is necessary to accommodate construction delays related to COVID-19 in 2020 and exceedingly high rainfall amounts in 2021.
Offer a motion to approve
No.
the extension request.
Hold on a second. Is there anyone here for or against? Fred, do you have anyone waiting?
No hands raised, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we're out of public hearing. Now go ahead, Mr. Donifro.
Offer a motion to approve the request, the extension request.
Not second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Donifro, second by Commissioner McKinney.
Have they?
You got any questions?
Yeah. Have they started on the leachate?
Yeah.
They have. Okay.
All right, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0. All right. We're back in public hearing. Ms. Amber Barnes.
Board discussion and approval of a general development order for the Jackson County Road and Bridge Office Facility. Request to review and approve a general development order to construct an 8,057 square foot building to be known as the Jackson County Road and Bridge Business Offices, and construction of a 6,540 square feet vehicle use area. The project will be located at 2486 Panhandle Road in unincorporated Jackson County. This item was actually supposed to go before our planning commission last Monday, but due to the tropical storm Fred and our advertising deadline, we are having a special meeting this coming Monday, August the 30th, to hold that public hearing.
So should we approve this contingent upon the planning
Contingent
board
upon
taking
like,
action?
Okay,
recommendations.
is there anyone here for or against this item? Fred, do you have anyone waving?
I do, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Buckhalter.
Go ahead, Miss Deborah. Deborah, I can't hear you.
How about now?
I got you. Go ahead.
Great, thank you. Is this going to be a prefab building or is this going to be a construction on site? I never could get clear on what your plan was there.
Hunter?
Pre-engineered metal building, but it would be constructed on site.
Did you hear that, Deborah?
Pre-engineered,
Pre-engineered building constructed on site.
They go long metal building.
basically assembled on site then? It's
That's
piece.
correct.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. All right. Anyone else?
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We're out of public hearing.
Question real quick.
Okay.
Now, if we're doing this subject to your board's approval, if they deny, we're wasting 2 weeks of time, is that right?
Even if they deny, it, that's just a recommendation. I mean, it would still
Right,
be
but
when
if
we
we
do
do it
it-
subject to their approval,
subject to their recommendation.
Are you having a special meeting just for that?
You gotta, you have to go through,
Oh, you
Two.
have to have
so
to.
we're just, you just have the, you're just holding that second meeting.
So
that's
we
all.
can go ahead and approve,
Correct.
not pending theirs,
Well, it's
but they'll
pen-
have
it's
theirs.
pending that second meeting.
Okay.
That makes sense.
pending the second meeting,
Second
not,
approval.
not,
Which will be.
It's-
planning.
Right,
Yeah,
if you,
right,
if you
okay.
public
Okay.
hearing. One is before
Mr.
the
Chairman.
planning commission. One's before the
Okay.
board.
I make a motion to grant this request pending the planning commission's approval. Is that recommendation?
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Pate,
Second.
second by Commissioner McKinney. Any questions? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0. Ms. Amber.
All right, this is board approval of a text change to Hurricane Housing Recovery Program agreement. This is board approval to text changes to the agreements with the Florida Housing Finance Corporation for the Hurricane Housing Recovery Program to include the rehabilitation strategies on page 6 to match the LHAP as board approved on May the 21st, 2021.
Got a motion by Commissioner Hill,
Second.
second by Commissioner Donifro. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Ms. Amber. Okay. Mr. Captain Birch, you got anything?
Good evening.
Evening.
Last 2 weeks, school's been in. We've had a lot of great response with our SROs that are in schools. It seems to be going well. We kind of got hit on the front end with some COVID issues that we've been able to overcome. But by and large, the schools have been very happy with our presence there and how things are running. We made a few tweaks at working with the school board and the schools themselves. We feel like that's going well. Follow up, I think it was back in May, came before the board requesting funding for our dispatch radio software. That project was approved and we entered into a contract with Mobile Communications of America for their AbTech consoles, both for the sheriff's office and for the EOC. They came kind of a pre-planning meeting early part of August. They were on site beginning August 16th. They were there for a week. That went really well. There was a couple issues with a couple of components that were shipped. One of them didn't work. One of them was actually the wrong piece for our environment. So we had to kind of make some changes there, somewhat on the fly, and then determine that we actually had to request a new piece of equipment. What does that mean? Nothing really more than long-term, once we get that piece of equipment, it'll have us fully functional at the UFC. Whereas how we are right now, we're still fully functional, but we have to make a hop back to the sheriff's office. But we should have that fixed within a week or so when we get it in. From a functionality standpoint, our dispatchers were able to pick up on it pretty quick, but there was some settings that we had to go in and change. We brought the technicians back and kind of worked through that. So far, we seem to have a pretty good handle on it.
Good.
Any questions about that project? No. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Michelle,
I've got nothing.
Luann,
I don't have anything.
Mr. Donifro.
I don't know if Rhett's still on the line, but William can maybe take this down, but I've had a call from one of my constituents about a ditch on Dogwood, 4887 Dogwood Drive. She says that she has been trying to get cleaned out for, she said 15 years. And so again, I just thought that we need to go out and take a look at it. So I'll get with Rhett and take a look at it.
I don't have any.
Commissioner Pate.
I have one little simple thing, and I was asking about it this morning. Did we get any correspondence from the Tri-County Airport about a appointment to somebody on the board? Do you know sorry.
Well, not that I know of.
Well, Tommy Leuenberger is on the board, and they asked for him to be reappointed to that board. I don't know, should we wait till we get something official? Or should we go ahead and approve his reappointment?
Who reached out to you about it?
One of the board members at Tri-County Airport.
I would probably wait till it was official, but do you want me to reach out? And
Yes,
see?
please. If they asked if I got the email and I've checked and I didn't, maybe it comes to the county, so maybe check on that.
I
I'm
will.
gonna wait. I have nothing.
If you wanted to
Yeah.
do it subject to that request, we could do that and then it would just. be
Well,
done.
maybe it's not a issue on timing. Let's just wait.
I'll check it out.
Commissioner McKinney,
No, sir, no.
Clay, Danielle. Okay. Joey,
Yes, sir.
you put those photos up for me?
Yes, sir.
Showtime.
Photos, showtime, we can do photos.
Let's just start scrolling through them. I went out to the mill pond yesterday at a request, and we really have, and I brought this to the board a year ago. There is a problem out there that we have to deal with. And the longer we wait, the worse it's getting. And just go on, Joey, keep flipping through them. You can see what that brown looking stuff on the water is decaying grass. And that stuff decays, drops down, and then it looks like it's raining out there. I guess it's methane that's popping up. But then the hydrilla, and I call it hydrilla, it may, some of it I know is hydrilla, because you can look at it, you can see that is right under the water there. It's only 3 or 4 inches down. That water is probably 6, 7 feet deep.
What's your solution?
My solution is that we need to probably take a couple of approaches. Number one, we need to get those old grass carp out because they're not doing anything other than eating fish eggs. The other thing is we should look at getting a cutter in there and cleaning out. Cut this
I
back.
thought we did pay for 1 or 2 passes.
No, we did not.
something for mowing.
Well,
We called it mowing.
We talked
Red
about it.
just gave a presentation,
Okay.
that's what it would cost. And then during budget, you'd have to, or actually, it was gonna be a TDC funding.
TDC
project.
funding. And I mean, either we can contract it or we buy the machine ourselves and,
What's the cost of the machine?
I think it, Red, are you still there? But I think he
Around
told me like
110,000.
110,000.
Do we
It
have
was
somebody started-
$10,000 to do one pass cutting.
So we need to just talk about this during budget.
Yeah, but I just wanted to show you these things. This is something we're going,
I looked
we're
at
gonna
it
have to deal with.
Saturday and I said, ooh. I mean, it was
It-
Saturday
it's-
afternoon, there was nobody out there.
Well, can
and I
we,
got a
I'm sure
feeling
we
that-
can use that machine in other places, like Seminole
Sure.
Landing for
Yeah,
residents.
you can use
I
it
didn't know if
there.
we could- So anyway,
Yeah, but I just wanted to show y'all, go ahead and go through them. That is right down there at Highway 90, just before you, in fact, those cattails you see over there. Or
When they drew it down, they were gonna, they thought it was
that
gonna help.
drawdown didn't work. Yeah, I mean, it might have helped some, but you can't tell it. It didn't stay down. I guess you would have to leave it down for several months. And everybody wanted it back up so it would be operational. Thank you, Joey. That I just wanted to show those things to you guys to kind of put it on your radar. We've got to do something or we're going to lose one of the greatest assets the county has. I mean, Lake Seminole is severely impaired now. It is not near the level it should be for utilization by people. So
quick question, I failed to ask, what did we schedule for budget? We got September 7th. That's gonna take more than a day. Are we published more than 1 day?
No, we actually hope to finish that day. I mean, it'll take
But if-
all
but if
day.
we-
better
but if we
schedule
don't-
two.
Yeah, or more.
I'd schedule at least two.
Okay.
Yeah, or schedule, I'd schedule.
If we
Just
don't
schedule,
use
if we
them,
don't need them, we can always say, but it needs to be published. I'd say just schedule, what's 7th on a Tuesday, just post it till Friday. That way, if we don't need them, we got them. Hopefully we don't need them.
anything else?
Yeah, one question, and I meant to bring this up into my time, I was down at Peacock's Bridge, I noticed a sign that come January 1st, that bridge is, that landing is no longer gonna be under county and fish and game control.
Right.
Have you got any complaints about that or any concerns?
Commissioner Hill is working on that. He might be able to enlighten you on the latest.
Can we go back through the history of what what
Well,
happened and why?
Yeah, a little bit. One of
Because I
them,
had some
multiple
calls, too.
people way smarter in the history of this than I am. I was contacted. Danny Melvin has got a lot of historic knowledge of that area by people he's contacted. Looks like he had one gentleman that contacted me. I can't remember his, I think the lineage went back great grandfather, the captain in the Civil War, blah, blah, blah. He actually donated that property. He used to carry logs on a wagon from that area, and they donated that property for this one piece of information he sent me. But it's owned by, the land is owned by a gentleman, this thing, yeah, Daniel, it's not Daniel's, and you've got it for sale, and Red, if you're still online, I can pop in, because there's some communication anyway. I understand it's 161, 164 acres approximately, somewhere just around 1 million for all of it. It's been stripped of most of the timber, of course, floodplain. So there's a lot, I've got well over 100 phone calls on this, which is great, and they're working with some of the Swindle family that owns the northwest and the southwest corner of that as a backup. There's some other properties north of there, but primarily we're trying to stay there around that. I don't look like he's gonna segregate the properties and say we can buy the land, but it was a contractual agreement I've heard as far back as the early 20s, some type of agreement for them to use it. That it's grown obviously to where it is, where the landing has been built, concrete, all that. But there was a defined contractual agreement lease with FWC, I think GFC at the time, that and he's just not gonna renew it, is the question. And we've Red's been involved in several, so we're working now with several private ownerships and trying to get something as a plan A, B, and C. And
So I just think when you think about it, from Magnolia all the way to Lamb Eddy,
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's
that's
a
long,
big
especially
stretch
for a
of the road.
rescue side. A lot of that, if they get someone stranded past Bear Creek, Bear Paw, excuse me, on down there, that is a point of reference for quick references for access for emergency services. So we're working with the families and trying to see what we can come up with.
We can come up with something, because like I say, I
It's
think it's
important.
critical that we have.
Then next time,
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
We have been working on this for several months, and I would just like to let everyone know that we are currently working with the Water Management District. They are going through an appraisal review process, and they've reached out to the property owners and their realtor, trying to do some site visits. So our first line to, keep this property in public hands is for the Water Management District to take ownership and for us to maintain it as we have in years past. So that's kind of where we are with that. I've instructed Water Management, or as instructed by no means, but I've asked them to let me know if they ever got to a point where they felt like, it wasn't going to work out, to let us know. And then we'd really put our heads together and try to come up with an alternative. But that's our best bet right now, and that is in the process.
Very good. Thank you, Red. Anything else?